Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to Atlanta Grill Company. Today I'm going to try something a little different. We're going to cook a ribeye steak today on the PK360, but what we're going to try to do is follow the SCA or the Steak Cookoff Association's guidelines for preparing a competition style ribeye. I've never done this before. This is new to me. I've just read about it. I've watched a lot of videos, so let's see how we do. The first thing I'm going to do in this process is prep my steak. The minimum thickness for an SCA cook-off steak is 1 1/8 inches, and this one's 1 1/4. And this is one I just got out of the case at Publix. It looked like a pretty good steak. This one has a really nice spinalis on it. So the first thing we want to do is trim this up to where it has a more appealing shape, and what we're going to do to start that process is we're just going to trim this little piece off here, and I'm going to go around the edges and look. We're going to trim a little bit of this fat right off of that edge right there, and I'm going to take that as well. There's a lot of people that are doing this that have their own trimming preferences and shaping preferences on these steaks. I've seen a lot of these done where they are presented as an oval, and I've seen a lot of them done where they're presented more round. But I'm going to get some butcher's twine here, and we're going to tie that up a little bit, and we're just going to tie this guy up to help it hold its shape a little. And I've taken off just a little more string than I need here, but we're going to tie a butcher's knot here around this. We're not going to over tighten it, but we're going to get it fairly nice, just like that. And then I'm going to complete that, and I'm going to cut the string and leave a little bit of it on there, because you cannot leave the string on it when you take this steak to a turn-in. So what I want to do now is season this guy. I'm going to do a little different technique for seasoning, and I'm going to start out with a little bit of this Atlanta Grill Company Sizzle. This guy's got a little bit of spice punch to it, and what I'm going to do is just sprinkle. I'm just going to use a little bit of this. We're not going to use a lot, so I'm going to sprinkle some out evenly here on my cutting board, and I'm going to set that steak right on top of it, and then I'm going to get a little bit more evenly here on the top. We're not going too heavy with that, and I'll show you why. We're going to come in behind that with some Atlanta Grill Company Himalayan Sherpa, and yeah, this is what happens to one of these bottles when you leave it too close to the hot grill. So I'm going to shake some of that right on top here, and we're going to go a little heavier with that because that's where our salt is, and I'm going to let that bind on here for just a minute as I pat that in. Then we'll just flip this guy over and hit the backside with about the same amount of our Himalayan Sherpa. And I'm going to let that sit here for just a few minutes to let that start drawing the moisture out of this steak. And after I've let that sit for a few minutes, I'm going to put it in a vacuum seal bag. I'm going to put this in my chamber sealer, and I'm going to get a really good vacuum on that so I can toss this back in the refrigerator. If you were cooking at a steak cook-off event, you might not have the opportunity to do a vacuum seal, but I would want to use plastic wrap and wrap that guy back up tightly after I put that seasoning on it. Throw it back in my cooler until I'm ready to cook, and this one's just going to go to the refrigerator, and I'm going to let that marinate in there for a little while, and in the meantime we'll get our grill ready. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my grill lit. I'm going to light up one of my charcoal starters here, and I've got a chimney here that's full of briquette charcoal that we're going to use today. I like to use briquettes when I'm cooking on the PK360 most of the time because they're uniform in size and I can spread them out evenly and get a nice even heat bed going here. So it takes this about 25 minutes to get these ashed over, so we'll just let that go. Okay, our charcoal chimney here is about good to go, so what we're going to do is dump that coal into our, I'm using the kick ash basket here on the PK360, and I'm actually going to use my Kamado Joe ash tool here just to spread this out evenly. I don't want an uneven thickness of charcoal in this bed here. I want this about no more than 2 briquettes thick at any point. So I'm gonna, like I said, we're gonna spread this out nice and even. As you can see, some of these bricks are not completely ashed over, so we're gonna close the grill up and give those a few more minutes to get completely ashed over. And while those are ashing over, I'm going to go ahead and put my grill grate on, and I'm going to stuff a piece of oak right up here against the kick ash basket to let it start creating a little bit of smoke for our cook. Okay, I believe we're ashed over fairly well there. So the next part of my process is I'm going to slide my grill grates in place. These grill grates are a big deal in the Steak Cookoff Association for producing beautiful grill marks on your steak. And since part of this process, the judging is for appearance, that's kind of important. So we're going to let these heat up, and we want these grill grates to be at a temperature of between 500 and 600 degrees, and I'm going to use my infrared thermometer to watch that until we get there. Okay, my grill grates are up to temperature, so we're going to start this guy. I'm going to put it right on here. I'm going to start my timer, and I'm going to put my bacon press on top of it for the first 90 seconds to let that guy press in and make sure I get some really nice grill marks. So we'll be back in 90 seconds. Okay, we've hit the 90-second point, so I'm going to take that guy off of there, and the next thing we're going to do is use our grill grate tool. We're going to lift that steak up off. I'm going to brush my surface, and then we are going to flip that steak and put it onto the front side on a hotter spot on the grill, and we're going to go for another 90 seconds here. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to baste this guy with a little bit of seasoned butter that I have while we get the next 90 seconds of this guy onto the grill. So I'm going to replace my bacon press and close the lid back. Okay, we are at our next 90-second point, and the bacon press there is getting a little hot. So what we're going to do now is take this guy, we're going to lift it up, we're going to brush that clean, and then we are going to give it a turn and put it back on the hot side and go for another 90 seconds. And we're also going to baste this side with some of our seasoned butter, and it might flare just a little bit there, so that's going to be perfect. So we'll take that off and let it go for its 90 seconds with the lid closed. And at our next 90-second point, we're going to pick this guy back up again with our grill grates grate tool. Going to brush that off, and then we're going to bring it to the front side of the grill and lay it right here on the hot section. And once again, we're going to give this guy a little baste with some of our seasoned butter. Give that a little more and give it its last 90 seconds at that point, and then we'll come back to finish it. Okay, we are at the end of our second 90-minute spot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move the steak over to my cooler side of the grill, and I'm going to use this extender rack to elevate that steak. So I'm going to pull it off and bring it over here and cook it on the elevated rack. This is the it's called the little bit more, or the little more rack for the PK grill, and we have to cook this steak to a medium temperature, which means I'm going to take this steak to about 130 degrees internally before I take it off, and I'm going to baste it another time or two while we're finishing here over indirect heat. A couple of times along the way as we're finishing this steak, I am going to open the grill, and we're going to give this guy a flip, and we're also going to continue to baste it another time or two as we go with our seasoned butter, which is really going to do some magic with the color and the flavor on this steak. Okay, my steak is temping right at 130 degrees, which is where I want it. So I'm going to get it off, and we're going to let it rest. Okay guys, I've let this steak rest, and I just want to make some comments on what I think about our results are. Like I said, this is the first time I've tried this, and I see a few things here that I'm not super happy with in terms of appearance on something like a Steak Cookoff Association steak. My grill marks are okay. I don't think I have any problems with the grill marks, but I think in between the grill marks, I would like for that meat to look a little darker than it does, and there's some things I can do to tweak the cook to improve that by probably having the inside of the grill a little hotter during the secondary part of this cook. But the goal here is also to cook this guy up to a medium temperature, which the first thing I want to do is get my string off of this, and then we'll slice into it, because this thing was temping right where it needed to be, and my spinalis is over here on this edge. So what we're going to do is come right down through the middle of this steak and then have a look. I probably got a little, that's kind of hard to see in this light. I'm fairly pink and medium here in the middle. I may be a little bit beyond what would be color-wise a medium. It's kind of hard to see the color out here in this light. So there's where we are. That looks pretty good, other than, like I said, the outer color on this. I may be a hair past medium, but I'm not terribly far past that. So of course the next thing I want to do is have a taste. Taste is definitely one of the areas where this is judged. So I'm going to get a little spot here from where I know it's going to be the best possible bite. Well, I don't think I have too much wrong in my flavor department, but once again, in a Steak Cookoff Association competition, it's going to happen a lot like a barbecue competition. These guys that are cooking these steaks are pumping the flavors in at every chance they can get. I elected not to do that here. I season this pretty much like I would do it if I'm going to put it on my dinner table, because it's going on my dinner table. But if you're not familiar with Steak Cookoff Association, I'm going to show you a link here on the screen where you can go read the rules and the guidelines by which competitors in those competitions have to cook. And based on what I've seen here, I'm going to want to do this again and see if I can improve the outside appearance on mine. So guys, give this a try. Let me know what you think. Until next time, this is John Setzler with Atlanta Grill Company.